So we got this song. Uh, so I got some drums on here, and I've done a little bit of work here, just some EQ stuff, nothing really crazy. I got this silencer thing. So we got the drums. I'm gonna jump here to the vamp here, and then we're gonna pull up trigger two because we have these set up to where they work inside of trigger. And you can literally load these files straight into Trigger. And I can go to the browser, and I got Yosh Warehouse, right? So what we're gonna do is I don't like replacing drums. I like layering drums. So what I'm gonna do is we'll start with the kick, right? So I have a kick in and a kick out. Let's see what they sound like. Kick in sounds like this. That's cool. And the kick out sounds like this. It doesn't sound like anything. Oh, because I got trigger on there. So this kick one, which is the kick in, is really egregious, but I also got most of my transients from here. So I'm going to put this over here. And let's go in here to the browser. And let's find, I'm going to go into the legacy. There's this kick called a very fat kick. Sounds like this. Oh, we got to turn it on. Duh. Sounds like this is what this sounds like. And so what we'll do is just kind of bring all right, got that in there. Let's see. That's the original. All right, let's see how that. All right, I kind of like how that sounds. Then what I'm gonna do is throw an API 550B on there. Is this stereo? It should be mono. Throw mono on there. There's a preset I like on here on kick that just always does it for me. I think it's just called bass drum 3. Yep. All right. So we got that in there. And then we're going to go to the snare. And then what I'm going to do with the snare is I'm actually going to just duplicate the snare. This actually works in audio. It doesn't work on MIDI in Studio One. So I'm going to duplicate the snare. And then we're going to pull in a couple of things just to make the snare cut. Because when I pull it in the regular mix, so it's in there, but it just doesn't cut. You know what I mean? It just doesn't cut the way that I want for it to cut. So we're going to build this out. And let's see what we got in here. We'll go some stuff from volume 2. There is a snare called the popcorn snare that I really like. Sounds like this. really give some pop to it, right? That's without it. That's with it. It just adds a little bit of pop. And then what I'll also do is add in another legacy snare that Yosh has probably used on every record that he's ever done. And it's a snare called the Brett snare. That is on Kirk Franklin's record. That's on Tamla Mann's record. That's on everybody's record. This sound. Then we blend it. You know what I'm saying? We're still trying to preserve the top of the snare, the regular snare, but we want to get that in there. So next, what I'll do is bring in another joint. I think it's called, I'm going to use the BR10. This is not that one. It's another one. I think it's everybody's favorite, but I'm going to show you something dope. So these are multi-samples, and you can choose to use the one with overhead. So even with the popcorn snare, I can go grab it with overhead. That's with the overhead. And then this is with the room. It's the room in there, or I can just go dry. But I like with overhead. And then this is with overhead, but I'm going to go room only on this. And we'll bring it up. So that gives me a triggered snare that sounds like this. Right? Starts to sound like a gunshot, but that's going to help it cut through the mix without having to even use reverb. Now let's hear that in the mix. So you hear how it's starting to cut through the mix a little bit more. And this is not the full mix, but you can hear the drums start to cut through a whole lot better. So if I turn off the triggers. So you see what I'm saying? It makes a little bit of difference. This is how you actually blend and mix drums and be able to blend them up. And so I would duplicate another instance, and maybe we want to make the snare sound a little bit bigger. So what I would do is go and grab the room from this, and then I'm going to grab one more snare from volume 2. I'm going to grab the absolute snare. And put it in here. And then what we'll do is go room only. So these are just room only snares. So now I can take these. So you hear I starting to cut through, and I haven't even added in compression. If I, took these snares and then just grouped them into a bus channel, we call this snare, because that's typically what I would do in a mix. Give myself a snare bus, make sure that they're all routed to their bus, right? And then I would easily just grab something simple like a CLA 2A, right? Hallelujah, hallelujah, we praise you forever, we praise you forever, we praise you forever, we praise you forever, 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 So I want you to hear the difference even between the kick. So if I have the kick in, so y'all hear the kick punching through, right? If I turn off the triggers on the kick, no triggers on the kick. Triggers on. Then if I turn off the snare triggers. No triggers. Let's bring them back in. Night and day. A song I did about 5 years ago. I got to revisit that. I might want to remix that on the live stream. But that's pretty much like that's pretty much how I would use samples and how I use samples to like mix track and dial in a song. And as you can see, I don't really have much going on the drums. I don't have like 50 plugins. I don't even got anything on the drum bus yet. If I was mixing it, I probably would go ahead and put in something on the drum bus. But as you can see, I'm able to take a drum mix from, let's again take the triggers off. We'll mute these triggers and we'll bring in just a regular snare. This is what the drums sound like with no triggers. Then this is what they sound like with the triggers on. Just way more big, bombastic sounding drums, and then it sounds like gunshots when you hear it solo, but when you put it in the context of the mix, so you hear how like it really adds to the ambiance. And that is how you can use Yash Warehouse to up your games in drums and make them sound good. And I was able to dial that in. And if I wasn't talking through it, I could probably dial that in like 2 or 3 minutes, just literally duplicating the track and blah, 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 blah. And I can have a really dope drum sound. And you get a chance to get Yash's drums. That's the biggest thing. We typically sell these for $100, and like you can get like typically the bundle of both um, um, volume one and volume two are 149, and we've got them on sale this week now for 74.99. You can get both for half of what you would pay for them now. Or if you already have, say you were the guy that jumped in and got volume one when we dropped it, and you want to pick up volume two, you can get volume two for like $49.99 instead of $99.99. These are Yash's signature drums, and you just heard them, so you know the proof is in the pudding. All right, that's how we keep the